Hi, welcome to your reading. Um, Here's the deal. Your cards have been pulled, they have been cleansed, they have been read. And I took some notes. Between the cards and the messages that I got from Spirit, I am living for this reading. What we're going to do is, in whatever order Spirit tells me, I'm going to interpret the reading that I have here. I actually did a spread this time where I put cards in a certain order. I'm really excited to share that with you. Some reminders about watching your reading. Sometimes you might need a break. Sometimes you might need to drink water. It's really useful for you to be in a receptive mode when you watch this. So if that means being a blanket burrito or going outside, just do something that will help relax you so that in addition to the cards that I pulled and the channeling that I did, you can also participate in the interpretation of this reading. Squee! Um, and I think that's about it. Take breaks if you need to. Be sure to practice self-care. You might have to watch this video a couple times. It's really useful to watch it the first time, think about it, and then come back to it again later when you're thinking about it again. And you might notice that some things have shifted or changed, or things that weren't clear before have become clear. So, just keep in mind that this content's going to remain here for as long as you want it, and you can come back to it at any time to check in with yourself and see um, what resonated and what newly resonates. Because I say a lot of words too, and there's all these little pictures on these cards, so it's one watch really isn't going to do it. And I have so much to tell you. Okay. So for the first piece of the spread, we're just going to get into it. I actually might take a sip of water first, and then we'll get into it. I want to put it less far away from me so that I don't have to reach like that every time. Okay, I'm going to move my pens far away because I don't need them. And put my water right there. Okay. So I pulled cards for what you need right now. Because we just kind of did a whole general reading about your life and everything, I pulled cards specifically for what you need right now, what you need in your mind, body, emotional world, and spirit. I use the Shaman Oracle deck, which I really love that deck, and I really feel like that deck likes you. From our last reading, this deck wanted to come hang out. It wanted to be the first deck that I used. So I wanted to let you know that those cards are really excited to talk to you. So for your mind, this is what I pulled. What you need in your mind is the spirit of truth. The spirit of truth. So some notes that I took for that, based on the interpretation from the little book that's included with the oracle. You need honesty. You also need duality, like a sense of truth, that it's not necessarily that truth is the opposite of a lie, but it's that the truth contains multitudes, and seeing beyond illusions. So when we think of truth in the scientific context, because we're in a very scientifically leaning society, we might think of truth as data, when in kind of a more spiritual idea of truth, which doesn't exist in the third dimension because we got all this truth shit going on. But in the other worlds, truth is about seeing all of the aspects, seeing beyond the illusions and the falsehoods, and really getting down to the core things about something. And as we know, truth is not always just one thing. So, what I feel that your mind is needing is to see beyond illusions and to have a sense of duality, that nothing is 100% good or 100% bad, black or white. It's a gray area. Um, this might be that you also need people to be a little more honest with you. If it's something you need in your mind, you might need to be more honest with yourself. Um, or more honest to other people about what you're capable of, or what you want or need. You know what I mean? So that's what your mind is craving. But good news in the rest of the reading. And then I wanted to see what your body needs. So I got messages from Spirit about empowerment, the spirit of empowerment. And these, all of these cards are so gorgeous and beautiful, but I really love this one. I've only gotten it a few times, but when I first look at it, I see like a figure playing with a doll, and in that way, it's kind of sweet and innocent. But really, it's a figure kind of like holding this mystical phoenix-like bird. So I really like the imagery on this card a lot. And then it also kind of looks like a sword. You know, I like swords. So, what your body needs, this is based on the notes from the Oracle interpretation of the deck, is to believe in yourself, to be true to yourself, to have a sense of becoming. So, the needs of your body right now, it sounds like, at its core, is really just wanting to feel powerful. And I'm also sensing kind of like fitness goals and a like, not like ideal body kind of like workout routine, but to get, when I ask what any of the cards could have flown out for what does the body need, but for the most body specific card about power to come out, you know, when all of the interpretations are like believe in your strength, like you have strength on your side. So it seems like really you're just getting strong, and that physical strength is fueling a lot for you. So, and it looks like you're on the right path. Like, I do not sense a lot of physical weakness over there. So, you're doing a good job. And then what do you need in your emotional world? Look at this tea. This is what came out. I'm just shuffling. It flies out of the deck, right? The spirit of boundaries, or I'm sorry, the ancestor of boundaries. You know what that means? It means your emotional world needs more boundaries. The things that I wrote down, protecting your space, protecting yourself, um, protecting you from yourself and others. Having good boundaries in relationships is difficult even for the strongest of us. And by that I mean me, because I am quite strong, but I still sometimes struggle with boundaries. We're all just out here doing our best. But Spirit has an excellent message for you. If this comes out as the ancestor, that means that you have an ancestor around it, right? There is some kind of guide or DNA memory or something that you have to pull on from the world of your ancestors so that you can have good boundaries. It's really an important part of loving yourself, is having good boundaries. And then what do you need for your spirit? 2 cards came out. This is the thing about the spreads, is that I don't draw the cards, I let them fly out when I shuffle. So for spirit, instead of 1 card flying out, it was 2, so I'm going to keep them both. The shaman of foresight and the dancer of inspiration. The shaman of foresight and the dancer of inspiration. When I saw these, my blood started pumping and I got a lot of really powerful channeled messages. And to be very frank, one of the reasons that you have the gift of foresight is so that you can have good boundaries. One of the reasons that we can see the future is so that we can plan for it. And so for those of us that are tapped into that, into the capacity for empathy and intuition that is required to really know what other people are going to do and predict their likely behavior. And you know, the thing is, sometimes for people that are really intuitive, which I sense you are, and this is kind of maybe me projecting, but I'll just tell you because it might be useful and it's coming up right now, is that sometimes I think that something's going to happen with someone. Like I see this version of them that kind of doesn't align with what I want. But I want all the other things. So I tell myself that this thing that I'm thinking is in some way related to my fear of love. Or maybe I'm just afraid that people need to be perfect and this person isn't perfect, and like I'm like making shit up in my head. Like I gaslight myself about their like character that I can see. But they put up this force field that they have their image projected onto, and that's the version that I like. And so I gladly accept the illusion. Gladly. You know what I mean? So that's the story of how foresight helps me in a way that I fuck myself up sometimes. And hopefully not anymore. It hasn't happened in a while. I think I'm doing real good. So, the Shaman of Foresight is about being watchful, listening to your dreams and visions, instincts, interpreting signs, and then what is the other one? Dancer of Inspiration, which is super sweet, has to do with imaginative conviction, precision, appreciation by others, turning a corner. So, the foresight card for me really reminds me of that card that was telling you to listen to the red flags. That's really what the foresight card is reminding me of. And I think that that's why all of those messages came through about kind of my struggle to not see red flags, is because it's kind of like a warning. But it looks like it's going to be useful in your journey for boundaries. There's a little more about this as we go through the reading. I will say that the feelings around it do seem like kind of sensitive. Like, one of the reasons that you really are craving inspiration in your spirit is that there's kind of like some shadow work that you might be exploring, or something shadowy in your situation that is maybe kind of dragging you down a little. And what would really help your spirit is if you were getting validation from others, if you were, what is the other thing that it said? Oh, turning a corner, being really precise, having imaginative conviction, kind of like leaning into the world that is outside of the shadow realm, where sometimes we do need to go to like see what's going on in there. Um, but the alchemy of it seems to be something that is going to be really inspiring. So I see you here maybe needing to seek out inspiration, which when we think about inspiration, we think about like a Toyota commercial that made us cry and change the way we vote. You know what I mean? But inspiration is also something that we can seek. It's like a spark of creativity and life. I'm getting like signals about Rumi, who is a poet. So maybe you might connect with some Rumi stuff right now, or like some Sufism, maybe. That's just something that kind of came through for now. But that's kind of like the idea. When I need inspiration, I go crack open a book and I see if there's anything in my many. That's why I have mystical books in my house. I don't read them. As soon as I get them, I leave them around. So when I need inspiration, I can crack something open and start to get the shit flowing. So that might be something that'll be beneficial for you right now. It also seems like there's something about your physical body, or maybe your Mars energy, something like dancing or like gymnastics. I'm seeing like some kind of physical inspiration that that you would be very receptive to, is like around the corner for you. So that's interesting. Cool. Take a deep breath. If you haven't, stretch a little bit. Sorry. That's who I am. Imagine my face sprinkled and a cigarette in my hand, and it's the same vibe. That is who I feel like I am. Any day now. Okay, let's move on. Oof. I think next, let's see. I want to make the right choice. Let me land back in, since I was making jokes. Okay, we're going to read the moon cards. Hey, I love these moon cards. Technically, they're my housemates, but I'm borrowing them. we share. Yeah, shout out Mystic Readings. If you're seeing this reading, thank Mystic Readings. Okay, so these are the moon cards. I remember they really resonated with your story last time, so I'm super excited. They're so potent for me. What I did for this was, what are you thinking, feeling, doing? What are you thinking, feeling, doing? What are you thinking, feeling, doing? That was my shuffle. And instead of 1 or 2 cards coming out, 3 cards like flipped over and came out, and it was like thinking, feeling, doing. So, but I actually didn't end up really caring about the thinking, feeling, doing part, because it's kind of inherent in the cards. So this is for the thinking. Your commitment is being tested. Your commitment is being tested. I guess that's not really the pretty way to do it. The pretty way to do it is like this. Which, hey, I mean, does that sound familiar? Your commitment is being tested. And I think that what's sweet about, what's sweet about that coming up, that your commitment is being tested, is that what I'm sensing and what I'm kind of getting is that you might feel like, is this really hard or is it just me? Like, you might have a feeling like, am I like kind of struggling here? Or is this like actually a really difficult situation? And the answer is, it is a really like, you are undergoing spiritual like ascension right now. There's like a download for you in this, like something from this lesson in your life to which your commitment is being tested. Like, it's in order to get to the fullness. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, do you really want it? And that's the whole point of the first quarter moon, is to be the first barrier in your manifestation, to see like, hey, do you really want this? Is this what you asked for? It's like you're whispering in a new moon's ear. And then the new moon, when it gets to the first quarter moon, is like, oh, I want to be sure I heard you right. Did I hear you right? Is this the life you want? Your commitment's being tested right now. And if you don't take actions towards what you want, I don't think I'm going to be able to give it to you. So I need to check in with you on the first quarter moon to be sure you can really handle these blessings, right? So, I mean, I have faith in you. The stuff that's coming out for your cards, I have a lot of faith in you. Because there's energy on your side. And then this full moon was in the middle, for thinking, feeling. So feeling, surrender to the divine. The full moon, surrender to the divine. And, you know, I think that the whole message I'm getting from all of these cards is that you are not in it alone. The moon is always willing to help you, right? We love Mother Moon. And it's not just the moon. It's like the moon is really just a symbol for you, all of the intuitive and the mystery and the mystical and like the subconscious. Like, it is all working towards fullness for all of us. So what your feeling is, and what I feel like the feeling that you can start to cultivate, is that no matter where the moon is, you feel full, because you know the whole moon is in the sky even when the sun isn't shining. And that really is something that you need right now, is to be feeling the full moon even when it's not there. And this really feels like it's about your shadow work and not necessarily like a particular situation in your life. It's like, which is amazing. Like, if there's good shadow work going on, then like these are the kinds of messages that you need. And then at the end, it's, what do you need to release? What do you need to release? So I actually asked the cards what you need to release. You might have an idea. I'll give you a second to think about it while I zip up my cleavage so that I can still post this on YouTube. It's so inappropriate. I'm so sorry. We're friends. Okay. So I asked what you need to release. You might also know what you need to release. But what it gave me was the 5 of Wands. So, I mean, you can probably tell that this is a precarious situation of people, um, tearing each other's limbs off, fighting, escaping. The Five of Wands is the card of conflict. It's the card of bickering and fighting and competing with one another. And that's what you need to let go of. So I don't know if you're out here starting fights. I don't imagine you, you know, going out on the street and hitting everyone that accidentally bumps your shoulder. You know what I mean? Um, but what it may be is like letting go of competing with someone in your life or others in your life, letting go of playing into the conflict when other people are initiating conflict, when they are inviting you out of your integrity to come into their argument or into their fight. I mean, that's a familiar feeling. I've been there. I am there often, honestly, especially in like communities or in situations with people that easily do that without any sense of conscience around it. I'll just like catch their energy and I'll be arguing and I'm like, what is going on? This is not who I am. You know what I mean? So I say that to say that not all conflict has a wrestling bell at the beginning, and a round of applause at the end. Some conflicts are ongoing relationships in our life where people are happily tearing off our limbs in order to render us unable to move. um, yeah, so that's what you need to release is that conflict. And, I talk about the sense of conflict. It could just be like one conflict in your life. Like there's like a fight that you're in right now that you're just like, I don't want to be in this fight. I don't know how to get out of that. I don't know what happens if you don't want to be in a fight and you're like, hey, never mind. Like, I don't know what the consequences of that are. Or any of the logistical moves. But that might be something that you need inspiration around. We could pull a card for it. I'm kind of curious. So, in the situation that this story that I made up is correct, or there's some kind of conflict in your life that you're ready to exit, how would you do that? Spirit? Thank you. Angels, ancestors, and guides, thank you for this beautiful gift. Okay. Wow, interesting. Okay, and this is going to be even more interesting as we go on. But, so getting out of the conflict, or let's just call this clarification on the conflict. We got the High Priestess and the Ace of Cups. The High Priestess and the Ace of Cups. I'm not going to explain that. I'm actually just going to move into the next part of the reading. And if you're looking at the photo of this reading, you might know why. Spirit's really talking to you. And me. It's kind of fun. Let me set these here. Drink some water. Take a deep breath if you haven't taken a deep breath yet. I can smell dinner cooking. It's delicious. Ugh, I can smell how yummy it's going to be. Spaghetti and meatballs. Mwah. Okay. So now we're going to go to, I kind of did a little Celtic cross style spread that I created through intuition from the shaman cards that I pulled at the beginning. And so I created this little spread for you. This is what I'm calling your self spread. And I kind of did it with the intention of sort of exploring how you are relating to your life story, your ascension journey, like not necessarily getting an idea of what's going on under the surface, but getting more of an idea of what's going on around you, because up until this, it's kind of been more about your emotional world. So this is kind of like about your hero's journey that you're on. So the card that I pulled for the self is the 10 of Pentacles. The 10 of Pentacles. So it looks like your self is pretty good on wealth. is having an okay time with like the earthly, things, very comfortable, and has like achieved completion around that. And it's also like a card of like mixed families and multi-generational wealth, and like a sense of masculine family lineage. So like with feminine family lineage, you'll see energies like um instinctual teaching, creative teaching, homestead teaching, intuition, and body cycle teaching. But with masculine family lineage stuff, you see like passing down wealth, passing down knowledge of how to accrue and protect, passing down like um, these lessons of initiation, essentially, into which I don't know why that's coming up. But there is a sense of like lineage here, I guess. So, and I don't know what that means for you. It seems like you're very comfortable in the pentacle department. So, what's crossing you? And the other thing about the Ten of Pentacles, in addition to the wealth, the multi generational slash mixed family, and a sense of comfort, is also the idea of earthly pleasures, like being comfortable where you are because you have accrued it. So, I say that kind of to say, like, this card wasn't really done yet because, in addition to it being amazing, there's also some downside of like getting too comfortable with this completion, because after Ten of Pentacles, even though you have achieved this completion, there is a Page of Pentacles that is ready to start some kind of venture with those accrued resources. So keep in mind, something does come after 10. 10 is not the end of the row of cards and the pentacles, you know what I mean? Um, so what's crossing you is two cards came out for this. Mind blowing that this happened. The sun and the moon came out at the same time, right as I was shuffling for what's crossing you. And so that's pretty cool. These are the luminaries in our sky. This is a really mystical thing that is happening in your reading for the sun and the moon to be crossing you. And here's some interpretations that I'm getting. One is something that is crossing you, which means it's like creating resistance in your ascension or your journey. It's creating a sense of blockage sometimes. And if it's not occurring now, it might be something to look out for in the future. So that's kind of like the idea of crossing, or cursing, as we came to call it. The thing is, what I really sense as soon as I see these together is a balance of the masculine and the feminine. So there is some kind of imbalance either in you or in your life. It might be the balance of like how much masculine energy you're around versus how much feminine energy you're around. And also like how you feel those in your body and in your experience. And none of us is under any obligation to have balanced masculine and feminine energies or expressions or experiences. But if we're doing inner work and we're doing the ascension journey, understanding them with a sense of equal respect, equal reverence, understanding how equal they are in our universe and in our path in order to achieve balance. Which the thing about them being balanced is that by seeing them here, it includes everything in between. The sun and the moon are coming around the earth, we are between that. We are not in polarity. We are on the spectrum. That's like the whole deal, that the universe has this polarity and we don't. So I imagine that balance has something to do with it. I will also say that when I think about how these two amazing cards could, possibly be stopping anyone or preventing them from moving forward, the sun can often be blinding. So the thing that came through clear as a bell was blinded by the light, which is really interesting because earlier we were talking about how to make sure that you have foresight, and that you have good boundaries. So to see like a blinded by a light message come through after that was pretty telling, right? And then also seeing that engaging or continuing to participate in conflict might be something that you need to let go of. And then the moon is illusions and things that are not what they seem. So, blinded by the light and captivated by illusions are really the message that I'm getting in reference to like what's keeping the Ten of Pentacles from turning into a Page of Pentacles and going on this journey to completion and mastery. Um, it's kind of that vibe. That's just kind of the vibe. Kind of like made me emotional. The moon is also about emotions. Sun is about ego. Moon is about emotional world. And what did I write down? Yeah, they're the masculine and feminine cards. Like, it's so wild that they came out together like that. Oh, we're in the home stretch. Yeah, 30 minutes. We might go another 20, maybe another 30. Take a deep breath. Drink some water. Walk away from it if you need to. I won't get mad. Take a break. Okay. So now in the spread, I'm moving over to the things that are on either side of the little self center. The things that are above you are the things that you can lift up in order to succeed. The things that are below you are the things that you can let go of. The things that are beside you are lessons that you're learning and a fate that you are reaching. So let's start with lessons that you're learning. This is the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords. So I went ahead and looked that one up because I don't really get it that often. The Page of Swords is about new ways of communicating, asking questions. It's about cutting out things and kind of like discerning the truth. Because, we'll kind of keep with this theme of like 10 page whatever. Eventually, you get to the Queen King duo, which is like when you have it mastered. And when you have the sword suit mastered, you know the truth. So, what the Page of Swords is doing is learning what the truth is by asking the right questions and finding new ways of communicating. And that's your lesson right now. It's so sweet to have a little spot called lesson and see a page on it. Like that's such a sweet synchronicity. Because really that's when we start kind of being on our own and going out and seeing what we're capable of. It's a really good place to be in life. And then the fate that you're going toward, goodness, is the High Priestess. So, as we saw before, the High Priestess was also in the moon reading. And in the moon portion of the reading, I was asking for clarification on how to exit these conflicts. So, what I'm getting is that this fate of being a high priestess, which is, we're going to talk about why that's so incredible in a minute. That fate has something to do with what you're letting go of with this moon situation. So that's really exciting. That means it's probably going to happen because there's a lot of information coming for you around it. And you have the skills, like you are totally capable. So fate. Here's what the High Priestess, these are qualities of the High Priestess. Intuition, divine feminine, subconscious mind, living between realms, and the middle path, which I've probably talked about a lot. I love the idea of the middle path. The middle path is that nothing is all the way black, nothing is all the way white. Everything is gray in this world, in this life. And the High Priestess knows that. The High Priestess has a connection with intuition. And because they understand so deeply the cosmic workings of the universe, they are able to take the middle path in in circumstances where polarity invites us to go either way, right? It's like being in a state of conviction about something without knowing the truth or without being certain of the reality, and knowing that in this realm between realms where we have the opportunity as mystics to walk and live from, when you're between those two pillars and you are walking in the truth of no truth, that is when we are very connected and very powerful. And I would argue the most powerful we can be. I really resonate with the high priestess archetype. I think it's a huge blessing that that is a fate that you are moving toward. And I think that it also speaks to this thing that we were talking about with the spirit of truth, where it's about transcending illusions, seeing past them. And in situations where you have to protect your boundaries, people don't really listen. People that are bad at boundaries don't listen when you say a boundary. That's the point. That's like what makes them bad at boundaries. So if you find yourself repeating a boundary a few times, then you are it's like the participation in the connection requires both people to participate. So it's going to require a release of participation in the connection in order to act, from a place of um healthy honesty. And that's why, okay. So I feel like we're good on the high priestess. I want to talk about what's going on with the things that you can lift up and that you can let go of. I mean, this still blows my mind like nobody's business, as does this. I mean, come on. There's like some powerful work ahead right now, with some powerful rewards. Huge blessing. So the things that I'm going to talk about first, the things that you can let go of, because you're going to have to let go of them to have the strength to lift that other shit up. And what you need to let go of is the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups. Now, that's a big, beautiful card that says a lot about a lot of things. When I see this card, I see overflowing of spirit and emotion. And often that's what it means for me. But in the let go portion, I'm like, why would you want to let go of an overflowing sense of spirit? So I Googled it because I'm a professional. And when I Googled the Ace of Cups, it was like new love, new romance, new relationship, new love, new romance, new relationship. This card is representative of love, sometimes a new love that's coming into your life. So that's kind of the tea, is that it is what this spread and this spirit are asking me to tell you, is that you may need to have to let go of this idea of a perfect new idealistic relationship. And until you let go of this new relationship image or this new love image, you may struggle to ascend. Because the thing is, a relationship is really not indicative of being emotionally healthy or being physically stable, which are lies that society tells us. But the thing is, we really like to be in love, and we really like new things and shiny new toys and novelty, especially when it comes to the thing that we get most excited by, which is romance and sexuality, right? Who doesn't want a weird dragon dildo toy? Like, that's how we roll. And I say all that to say, um, really just to humanize the situation, because the thing is, in reality, love doesn't come from the newness of anything like this brand new thing. It comes from spirit. And I pulled a clarification card because I struggled to understand this. And then the message that I got in reference to, I was kind of just asking, like, do you need to release this idea of a new romance, or do you need to release this idea of new love? And the card that I got is the Three of Cups reversed. And when I look up what this means, it says alone time. So, what it's really, I think the message is you might need to spend some time alone, which is very practical advice for a lot of people to be single for a while. We see it in movies, we see it in therapy ads or whatever. Um, so consider if that might be something that's on your plate and that Spirit's asking you to do, and if that's something that's realistic for you. And then what you can lift up, which isn't necessarily a reward because you already have this. This is something you already have that you can lift up in order to reach a state of achievement and alignment. And that's the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands. So, the Four of Wands is homecoming, joy, relaxation, familiar feelings. So when I see this, I'm really seeing that the thing that you can lift up is the fact that you have a sense of home. You have, even if it's within yourself, you have a place that you know that you can always come home to, that you're always celebrated, that you feel cared for and resonate with the people around you. And in this situation, like maybe this isn't a place you go, but it's like it's online. You know what I mean? Like we met online. Plenty of people are meeting online and having relationships online. So there's some kind of home base that might exist like in your social sphere. Or it might be a sense of home that you feel within yourself or with your ancestors. It might be a sense of home where like you need to take a trip somewhere that's like resonant with your home. Things that are familiar. The other thing is like this reminds me of comfort. So, and it's comfort in not like this sort of hierarchy of the generational wealth thing, which is like this is one way that we could see families is like a transaction, you know. But the other way that we can see families is like the plate, like where we learn our lessons and where we get our source from, you know, and that's not true for all of us, but some of us are privileged enough to have really rich, sweet families or rich, sweet tribes in our life that we can lean on, and that will celebrate us when we come home. And there is an environment out there for you that exists that will celebrate when you come home. And it's celebrating you now. It exists in your life. I'm really just seeing like your ancestors saying like, hey, you're home, come here. Like your ancestors are saying like you might have to go back in time a little, which is wild, like because I know what's happening for you a little bit. I have a little bit of context. But it's like, yeah, what I'm seeing is like they're outside of the city. Like the city walls are behind them and they're outside of the city playing. So it might be like getting out of the city or getting out of a city like mindset. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. I will provide any clarification short of pulling more cards. I really hope that you enjoyed this. Feel free to watch it again. Yeah, I think that's all for the wrap up. Really beautiful. I am sending you lots of love. Mwah.